Hi everyone and welcome back to the Crafty Yellow Camper. I'm going to show you how to make another card today using the Garden Wishes stamp set, although I've only used one stamp, primarily using the dies and these beautiful papers. The papers come as a 6x6 stack and they also coordinate with the Dragonfly set. Dragonfly Garden, I think it's called. They also coordinate with that, but primarily I'm going to show you how to use the dies which come with it. So I'm just going to put this card to one side and let's get started. So first of all, I have a base of Bumblebee cardstock because that is what the yellow is in the papers. And I'm just going to fold that in half. So this is cut from a sheet of UK A4, so it's half a sheet of UK A4, which is cut at 14.8 along the long side, and that gives you, when folded, a standard C6 UK card base, which is 10.5 wide by 14.8 long. Okay, so that's that. And then I'm going to bring in some of this beautiful paper. This is another sheet. They're all double-sided. Obviously can't show you the other side of this because it's stuck to the card, but this one's got this really lovely dandelion on the back in Bumblebee, and this side's got some mossy meadow with the dandelions, and that's the side that we're going to use. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is adhere that to the front of my card. And I'm going to try very hard. If you watched my last YouTube video before this one, I'm going to try very hard to get my card the right way up, because the previous one I completely cocked it up and it ended up upside down. Sorry for my language. Okay, right, so I'm just lining that up. This piece of Designer Series paper is cut at 14.3 by 10, and that gives us a standard UK C6 map. Okay, so once you've actually cut this card, cut the front for this card, then there should be enough left to make a strip, and that's actually what I used on one of my other cards, which I haven't actually got to hand now to show you, but there is a YouTube for that as well, and I will post the pictures on my Facebook page. So that's our card front made, nice and simple. And then what I'm going to do is bring these other elements in. Now I have already gone ahead and die cut these because you really don't need to hear me with my die cutting machine, and I've got a bit of a problem with my Big Shot at the moment, so I think I'm going to have to invest in one of our new die cutting machines. So I've actually had to use my Gemini, which is my electric die cutting machine, which is really loud. Okay, so what I've done, basically my Big Shot is not cutting properly across the pad. I've had it apart, found a YouTube tutorial to take it apart and give it a service, and there was a half a ton of rubbish came out of it, but it still isn't working. So what I've cut is a scalloped oval out of Bumblebee to match our card base, and a plain oval out of Whisper White, and we're going to do a little bit of stamping on that. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the little stamens there. I don't know if you can see that, the little flyaway bits, and I've just got some basic grey, and I'm just going to randomly stamp, just being very gentle. Don't push down too much, otherwise you will end up with that halo effect. And I'm just stamping around the edge of our oval, and you'll see why in a minute, why I haven't bothered going into the middle. Okay, so what I've then got, this can be mounted up on there actually, so let's do that and get that out of the way. So I'm just a little bit of wet glue on the back of that, and I am going to again, with these kind of shapes it's easier with wet glue because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room to make sure you've lined it up. Okay, that'll do. Now this is our Dandelion. These dies come with the set. You can buy them with the set. There are dies to cut out the single dandelion, this dandelion bunch, the bee, and then there are some extra dies, and this is what I've used. So this will make us a 3D dandelion. So I've cut that from Whisper White, and then I have cut this from Mossy Meadow, two of the leaves from Mossy Meadow. And what I wanted to do, I wanted to show you how I'd got this effect with a little bit of the white and a little bit of the yellow. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is to shape my flowers. So some of you might have a ball tool. I've got one somewhere, have no clue where it is, so I decided to use my thumb. Some of the best tools are the ones that are attached to us. So all I did was I put it on a stamping mat, and I just used my thumb to apply some pressure to the middle of the flower, and you can see if I hold that sideways, that's sort of curved it slightly. And then if you do the same with all of the others, as you get to the smaller ones, you'll have to swap fingers. So I started with my thumb on the really big one, and then I went down to my first finger on the next one down, and then yes, my fingers get smaller, and then that one down, and then I went onto my ring finger onto that one. But equally, you could put them in the palm of your hand, cup your hand, and then give them a bit of a press. What we want is some shape, but again, as I said, the easiest way to do this is if you've got a ball tool. I have no clue where mine is. Okay, so again, put them in. That bigger one, you just need to be a bit careful and sort of move your finger around. Okay, and then we can start making them up. So what I did was I used a mini dimensional. Where have I put them? Here they are, hiding under my card. I used a mini dimensional in the middle of the biggest dandelion, but only that one. The rest are done with glue. And then what you need to do is you need to go along and layer them up and put the sticky out bits around the side, these bits here around the side. Make sure that you layer those up sort of offset against the ones behind. We don't want them just sort of piled up. So you can see that I'm going for the gaps in between on this one and try and get it fairly central. So you only need a tiny little blob of glue in the middle, and I think on this one I've already sort of snuck off to one side, but I'll try and drag that back. Okay, so that's our dandelion layered up, and you can see where we've pushed into the middle of that has given it, if I push it to one side, hopefully you'll see, it's given it a little bit of shape. Okay, so that's the stamp mat out of the way. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to grab my Bumblebee ink, which I'd forgotten to get out on my desk. I'd used it for something else earlier and tidied it up. Now, if you didn't want to do it like I've done, where you get more ink in the middle and round the edge, what I would suggest you do is ink over all the pieces separately. But the look I was going for was a little bit of the yellow in the middle and then sort of going out to the white, as if this is transforming from the dandelion flower into the dandelion clock, which are white. Okay, so all I did was open up my ink pad, grab my flower, and obviously make sure you don't get yellow all over the stem. And I just literally popped it on my ink pad and gave it a little press, and you can see I've got ink on my fingers there. So I'm just going to grab a white. If you've got a bit more delicate fingers than me, obviously don't press so hard and then you won't get as much yellow, but you can see that it's picked up the yellow on the edges but not in the middle as well, and that's the look I was going for. I was a little bit more delicate with the previous one. I may have pressed a little bit hard on that one. And then all I did was get my trusty blender pen out for the stalk, and I grabbed a Mossy Meadow ink pad, and these are the old style ink pads, and they work for giving it a squeeze on the back, and when you open it up you've got some ink in there. You can do it with the new style ink pads, but they take a lot more pressing. And all I did was pick up some ink off that, just colour in with my blender pen down the stem. Now this isn't the full length of the stem that's attached to the die, because we're not going to need the full length, we're going to cut it off. So I didn't worry about getting the full length, because that would be longer than our die cut shape. Okay, so that's that. I'm just going to give that a scribble off, otherwise the next time I go to use it it'll be Mossy Meadow and I might not check. Okay, You know once they're clean, once you stop getting any colour off. Okay, as I've said on previous videos, those pens are very old and that one is almost worn out. Okay, so that's that. Let's just get rid of that ink so we don't end up with it on the back of our Dandelion Bumblebee yellow card. So what we're now going to do is we're going to layer this up. So the first thing to do is to stick this into the middle. And you might prefer to do this without sticking it into the middle to snip off the ends, but I'm just going to go for it. And we're going to line this up in the middle of the card like that. Give it a good press. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mini dimensional on the back of our Dandelion just to hold it down, and then equally on the back of our leaves. Okay, turn that one over. Okay, and what I really like about these dies, and I don't know if you can see it, if I can hold them up close enough, if the camera will, oh there, will focus. When you die cut it, it cuts out the shape, but it also puts that impression down the middle of the leaves, which is really quite nice. Okay, so what we're going to do is take off the backs, and I'm going to put my Dandelion sort of off towards the left in my circle, and you can see that's going to hang it over. So before I stick my leaves on, I'm just going to bring in my snips, and I'm just going to take that section off, and we can discard that, we don't need that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my leaves in. I'm going to bring the biggest one in first, and we might have to snip the bottoms off these, we'll see how we go. And I'm just going to, actually, I'm going to put that one on, oh goodness me, put that one on the other side. And pop that one on there like that, and then I'm going to take my dimensional back off the other one, and I'm going to pop that one in there like that. And we just need to go back in, or you could leave that actually. You could go back in with your snips and take that bit off, or you could leave it, and I think I'm actually going to leave it. There we go, and that's our card using the shaped Dandelion dies. I hope you've enjoyed that, and I will see you all again soon. Thanks for watching. Happy stamping.